Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to show you how to make some borscht out of some extremely small pathetic beets and some carrots and some other stuff I grew. I don't know why, but I always get these little small ones and they're tough to do stuff with and they're really tough to peel, but I'm going to show you a trick on how to do that. And we got these carrots. I got this really weird one. It's like, you know, like one of those weird lemurs with that weird finger thing. I don't know what they're called. But yeah, it grew in the garden, and why not? We'll put it in the soup. All right, let's wash up these vegetables and get started. Now you might be wondering why I'm wearing these rubber gloves, but I don't want purple fingers for the next couple days. If you've ever made borscht or did anything with beets, you'll just know how they stain everything. It looks like a massacre, and you know, it's not so much that aesthetically I don't like the purple fingers. I just don't want people knowing that I made borscht and shaking me down for some, you know? This is my borscht, not theirs. So you want to clean these extremely well because the way that we're going to peel these is we're going to boil them whole, and that's going to be part of our base for the borscht. And you really want more beets than dirt. What the heck is that? God. And definitely keep the carrots separate because they're going to be a different process than the beets. That one kind of looks like a sausage. Man, is there so many dirty beets. So now you just fill water into the beets until they're covered. Now you're going to want to do this into a separate pot. This is going to be the first... what we're going to do here is we're going to boil these beets to where they're just about done, and then peel them. So take her over to the stove and make it happen. Now, as far as cooking devices go, I get my best results with a 1947 Roper propane fueled range. You could use a hot plate, babushka's wood stove, start a fire with a whole bunch of old phone books, whatever. But like I said, I get my best results with a 1947 Roper. And this one's kind of old school. You got to light her manually, the old suicide stove. So we got that on boil. And while we have that on boil, we're going to cut some vegetables to make the Zazharka. Okay, for the Zazharka, you're going to want your carrots, obviously. Some celery stalks. Those are celery hearts. I have an onion here. We're going to use part of this red pepper and clove of garlic. Just checking on the beets as I was peeling the carrots. It's starting to come to a boil, and look at that nice reddish tint that's starting to come out of the water. Borscht. Okay, the beets have been boiling for, about 10-15 minutes now, and they're at the point where they're done boiling in this pot. So we'll remove it from the heat. And then you want to reserve this beet water. So that's why you want those beets to be as clean as possible to begin with. And just dump them in. And you let these cool down for a little bit. Very hot. So to cool these beets down, you can hit them with some water and keep the colander in there because we have some more broth. Okay, now to peel them. If you thought washing them was bad, this is really tedious. Now, I suggest you give yourself a refreshment just so you can put up with it. Oh, yeah! Okay, now, the reason why we boiled the beets before we peeled them is these little guys, there wouldn't be hardly anything left on them if you peeled them with a regular peeler. But after you boil them, the skin, I don't know if you just saw that, but just slides right off. Now these little guys, oop, dropped it in the skins. See these little guys here, I'm gonna keep them separate. The bigger ones, excuse me. Now this is a great method for peeling potatoes too. You boil them until you could stick a fork in it, and if the fork won't stay in it, it's done enough to do this. And you just use a regular old butter knife, use the back of it, and look at that, how it just scrapes off nice and easy. Now this one too, it's small beet, and if you used a regular peeler, you'd lose a lot of the flesh once you get all the old skin off. And you could tell if the skin's off of it because it'll be really slippery. The beet itself is very slippery underneath, whereas the skin is not. If you're not sure, you just give it a once over with your fingy, and surely be able to tell what's skin and what's not. If you rent, I suggest you check with your landlord to see if beet stains on the cabinetry will make you lose your security deposit. So always get permission to make borscht from proper authorities. Now we did all the tedious peeling, now we're going to do all the tedious chopping. We take and turn these to the pot. So then now we're all done chopping these up. We'll take and turn them to the pot. Now you don't have to add meat to yours, but I like to add meat to mine. This is just a chuck roast. All right, I'm happy with those. So then take and add these to the pot. So you're gonna want to wash and peel 3 medium-sized potatoes. I like to do this just before I'm about to put them in. And then these, just cut them up into something like that. And I'm going to take and add these to the pot. Okay, now while that's cooking, we're going to make the Zazharka. I like sunflower oil. It's hard to come across in the States. So if you can't find it, I mean, any high temperature oil will do. You don't want to fry the vegetables. You don't want them to caramelize. You just want them to sweat a little bit and then kind of seal up, locking in the vegetable's own natural little flavors. You want it on the cooler side. You don't want to, like I said, you don't want to fry them. You don't want to caramelize them. And then the garlic, we keep that separate. Might be a good idea to have yourself a little drinky poo in celebration, because you're making borscht. Pot is boiling. We got our beets in there. We got our meat, and we have our potatoes. And this is just starting to shimmer. So we add in this vegetable goodness, the vegetables. And like I said, you don't want to fry that. You just want to cook it and make it sweat a little bit. And I think I might add just a hair more oil to it. A hair, that's a weird unit of measurement as far as a liquid goes, but hey, that's what I did. Okay, now we're ready to add the garlic. We add the garlic last and after everything else is cooked, because garlic has a tendency to really roast out and it'll burn, and yeah, and then it just kind of disappears in the mix. So you put it in and you just cook it until it becomes fragrant. You could either use ketchup or you could use tomato paste. I like ketchup because it adds that sweet salt and vinegar. Turn the heat back up, and you're gonna want to, I don't want to call it stir frying, but man, you need a little bit more in there. You're gonna want to heat it up and get it to where you could really smell the vinegar boiling off of the ketchup. If you're using tomato paste, you could just wing it. We're at the point now where we could just start adding our final touches. Our beets from before, the little baby beets, bay leaves, cannellini beans, vinegars for the very end. If you're a true Slav, in your freezer, you have dill. Well, it's frozen and you want to be quick, because once it thaws out, it kind of makes a mess. I love dill. So we're going to take our baby beets and add them back in. Then we're going to take our Zazharka and gently lower that in as well. We're going to add some fresh ground pepper. Our beans, you just add it in with everything, just throw it in. Take our bay leaves. We'll add 2 of these. We'll add 3, heck with it. 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and then that dill you cut. Throw that in there. And then stir it around. Let it boil for like maybe 2 or 3 minutes after that. And with the heat on it. And once it's done boiling for about 2 or 3 minutes with the heat on, turn the heat off, cover it, and then let it rest. And once it rests, it'll really let everything come through. Well, that's how you make borscht from extremely small beets that you can't do much else with. I added some sour cream, which you don't have to, but it makes it very nice. This calls for one final drink. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and have a good night. Cheers.